Zacks, some of the Rumbles coming in. We'll have to see how they actually decide to go through Champion Select, because Cloud9 can continue to play the way they have. Coast, Nintendo Direct says they play well under pressure, but this is where they have to pull out all the stops.
Yeah, you can't really imagine any more pressure than this. If they're waiting to the last minute, they may have already waited too long, because it's not an easy task, even if you're under pressure, to beat a team that has a legendary record like Cloud9. And Cloud9 has actually banned out the Ribbon, which is something Zion Spartan had his first loss with this Super Week, but it's still something that he is prevalent on. And getting him the Shen is actually a very good sign for Coast.
Well, great. The global pressure we've really been seeing only coming from Karthus and Shen. TF hasn't really been making presence or a splash in this Super Week.
And Shiphtur is actually someone who has been playing a bit of TF, but specifically back in the 3.9 patch, TF did get a number of nerfs, also his gold card got changed once again in this most recent patch, so it's something that Cloud9 is going to take on, and we get to track that one right here.
They will actually take it just off in the wing there. He says, all right, we'll play it. So they lock that down. High going to be grabbing in Twisted Fate on this matchup. The last time these two teams played, it was a back and forth of, can we grab yours? Shiphtur had Zed instead of High in their last match. So, like I said, these guys are going to be trying to poke at each other's champion pools.
And there's also a really good chance that they pick that to just block Coast from getting the Shen TF combo that teams like Vulcan have talked so much about, being just map-wide domination. If you get a bit of an edge and you have the double global power of Shen and TF, it really restricts the opponent's capability of coming back in a game, and that's one of the smart reasons that they picked that TF, most likely for High. Even though High hasn't had amazing games on TF, he's still a solid TF player, and he recognizes how to play him.
On the other side, we have Nintendo Dex going for his most chosen jungler, bringing that Jarvan back into the game.
Should be number 11 for him on the year.
We'll hear about how some of the players enjoy choosing single champions throughout how they play, and Jarvan kind of gets a to-do in there.
Daydream and Blitzcrank too.
Daydream and picking up Blitzcrank. We have to remember when Daydream came in, it was kind of the unorthodox supports that he used. Now Blitzcrank isn't. He used the least to get his first quadra kill in the game. But Blitzcrank is one of those play-making supports that you can consistently do that with.
And for Coast, it's a very good pick against Cloud9, because we talk about how Blitz is a very make-or-break champion for Coast, and that's what Coast has to do right now. I don't think they can expect, or they shouldn't expect, to beat Cloud9 just in a straight-up brawl. They're going to really want Daydreaming to make a huge amount of plays to make this work.
If my memory serves me correctly, this was the Blitzcrank to steal Meteos' buffs away, and then Meteos still had a good game on Nasus. That was Daydreaming's Blitz, right? They played that duo mid.
That was actually, I know this was the very first game of the split, and it was Dignitas against Cloud9. Dignitas stole like both of his buffs, and Meteos was still able to come back.
Toy did it.
And yesterday I'm still remembering Meteos just eating a game with Eve. He just took complete control of it.
That was pretty scary.
Trying to be all over the map on the high farm carry type junglers. And this is a Nocturne who would be able to do a similar thing for him if he can really get going. So I'm personally excited to see how he tries to farm the game here with Nocturne.
So we actually see Kennen being picked up quite a bit coming into this week. It was played the last time Cloud9 put their composition together versus Coast, and it seems like they like that overall pick. With the Rumble being out, Balls has had to switch things up. We've heard about his hot and cold with Shen. Won't get a chance that game. So he's back onto Kennen. As we see, if that is a locked-in Renekton, that's twice in a row Zion Spartan plays this versus Cloud9.
They're not messing with this, but they are, because that is a bruiser-centric team. The reason I was like, there's no way they'll pick Renekton is because they already had Shen. So this is either a... it's got to be a mid-lane Shen or a mid-lane Renekton. One of the two.
All right, I like it already.
Or, no. Now it makes sense.
Okay.
It's foolish of me.
Take your time.
Blitzcrank, Caitlyn middle. Because they talk about how you need that for extra buff control, and back when Daydreamin first started playing Blitzcrank, he said that's the way you run him. You have to run him there because you want to steal the other team's red and blue buffs. And then they just pick two top laners because they're going to be doing side lanes anyway. And then they just hope to bring so much tankiness to a team fight that they can overwhelm Cloud9.
I'd be surprised if Elimination clicked off anything but the almighty disengaged support of Zyra right now.
Considering Coast is just a bunch of melees.
Considering this team is melee and is going to be up in your face instantly. Each one of them coming in with their own gap closer. And if the gap's not closed, then Shiphtur, not Shiphtur, but Daydreaming's going to bring you right into the fight.
Oh yeah, and Lemonation also has his trademark heal summoner spell because he knows how clumped these fights are going to be, and there's not a huge amount of burst damage on Team Coast since they are all on those fighter tank-type champions. Heal, Lemonation has said many times, is one of the best late-game summoner spells, and this could maybe secure something for Cloud9 if it ends up getting to that point. This will be a very interesting game.
It is going to be a very interesting game, and the fact that since we're seeing so many champions that are going to require gold, how do you facilitate that in a game where, you know, Kobe said yesterday, when you get that sort of MMO composition of that healer mage, the damage dealer, the tank, it works out better overall because you're not putting your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, I'm still very curious about how Coast is going to be able to farm this. I want to see Shiphtur's Renekton specifically and what Cloud9 tries to do against it, whether Cloud9 is just going to try and match and put their AD carry support in mid and then really put High's Twisted Fate at a disadvantage because he's going to have to go into a side lane. Or if Cloud9's just going to play with the mismatched lanes and rely on Meteos to equalize.
Well, they have an absolutely amazing composition to stop anybody from getting to the back line of Twitch. The Stranglethorns to pop up. You also have balls to just throw Slicing Maelstrom in that fight. So all of those melees are going to be sitting in spray and pray for the entire time. But if these lanes get bruisered down as we think they were, I don't think Cloud9's going to get to that fight phase. And that's where people say Cloud9 is vulnerable, is the early game.
Yeah, and I don't know about that. I don't know if Cloud9's vulnerable in the early game.
I don't know. Skara said it in the interview the other day. Vulcan finds all of their wins off of Cloud9 in the early game.
And we can think about it, though. Cloud9 has lost 3 games all year. 2 of those games, they gave up 2 kills at level 1. And the other game, they fell far behind Vulcan, but then still almost came back. So that's not, to me, that's not so much early game.
Right.
Even though to me, level 1 is before the early game. Because that's before the laning phase even starts. If someone could take advantage of Cloud9 at level 1, yes. And that could be what Coast tries to do here with the Blitzcrank.
Zion Spartan and team are moving quite diligently here to this center portion of the map. They're not going to go for the top side. They're going to try to get in fast. A ping coming out is going to allow them to know that they're coming in. So High will kind of spread all the way down to the turret, and they're going to just take over this blue. Probably going to walk their way out after the vision.
Yeah, Cloud9 needs to make sure they play this one smartly. And Meteos, I want to see what plan he's hatched for himself to prevent Daydreamin' from messing with his buffs early on. Nocturne doesn't necessarily do well when he's denied either the blue or the red buff. He actually needs both of them to have any kind of real presence early game, and it looks like Coast is trying to take control of both sides of his jungle, so there could be some very heavy denial planned from Coast team.
Still can't tell where the swaps are going just yet. We'll have to see how Cloud9 decides to figure this out as well. It looks like they themselves are going to want to run the standard lanes with the AD support in the bottom lane. I'm sure they expect Blitz and Caitlyn to be mid. That's almost told
it's
by
almost
the
a
picks.
given, since they're running 2 melees in the side lanes, and you typically don't put melee tanks in the mid lane at all. And this is Meteos' plan as far as it seems. And it actually looks like, as long as nothing changes, this guesswork is mostly appropriate. Meteos will take this red and then run straight to his blue before Daydreamin' can deny it. But because of the wards, actually, that are on Meteos' blue buff, there's a good chance that Daydreamin' would be able to roam over and stop that. We need to see how this develops.
They have it. Look, it's symmetrical on both sides. 2 to the left, or 2 to the top side, 2 to the bottom side. So they know wherever they want to go, they can start to default to that strategy.
Right, but if we actually look at where Daydreamin' and Intendude are right now, they're not getting any benefit out of this. They used 4 wards just to trade buffs. Meteos and Cloud9 guessed exactly right. There's no real benefit gained from the early warding, and I gotta say that's a great play by Cloud9 to just stop the Blitzcrank buff denial.
Quick adaptation. With the buff denial, what lane do you think they would have focused if all that went correctly? Because now they have to start adapting Coast.
I think a lot of it was just straight up guesswork.
Okay.
And at this point, Daydreamin' just wants to go and make a play because he didn't get this. Balls has got to watch out.
Balls at level 2, playing it very safe. Goes with Q and E instead of getting a W to keep the farm on, and that saves his life.
Well, Cloud9 will play this one conservatively.
Yeah.
And it was a fairly obvious tell that Daydreamin' had left the mid lane quite a while ago, and it basically told Balls to play as conservatively as possible against Shen.
Does it have to become a thing now that you have Blitzcrank mid? Do you have to roam with this? Does it kind of go to the wayside if you don't?
You don't have to roam, but you definitely want to, because that's the biggest strength of Blitzcrank. If you're not making plays or denying with Blitzcrank, he doesn't bring much outside of his hook in the team fight. The hook can be completely game-changing, but outside of that, if you're not making that work, you're not bringing much.
So we turn it into the 1-2-2 here as the defense is set up by Coast. Looks like we got the Bruiser lane bottom versus the AD carry and support.
It's a pretty dangerous lane down there for Twitch and Zyra. There's a lot of closing and fighting potential with a double buff Jarvan and a Renekton down in that bottom lane.
Meteos making his way towards the top side. Don't regularly see him come out on Nocturne in the jungle, so it'll be interesting to see how he takes this game into consideration. Already foiling the try of Coast to deny buffs in the early game. Off from there, looks like, again, we're going to see Daydream and try to get that roam on.
Yeah, Daydreamin's going a lot of up and downs. Not much. Meteos is kind of power leveling himself, trading or sharing farm in the mid lane with High so he can hit level 6 as quickly as possible and make his presence felt. He's outpacing, actually, Zion Spartan at this point, to give you an example of how quickly Meteos is farming on Nocturne.
We still have to remember very shortly we will have the level 6. That's the Stand United. That's Meteos coming in with the Paranoia. That quasi-global ultimate, rather. And Dragon may be a priority for these teams. We see Coast, whenever they play against Counter Logic Gaming, they have their hands all over objectives. A good flash, but the rocket grab. High could be going down for first blood. He tries to turn it around. The cleanse on the Ignite keeps Mash Me alive.
Good timing on the cleanse by Mash Me. And it ended up burning the extra summoner spell in a sense on High. Timely gank by Nintendo X, and it delays Meteos' plan, because Meteos was actually going to try to hit 6, clearing the jungle, and then come in blind somewhere before the enemy was ready. But that can't happen now since Meteos has to cover the lane after High's demise.
A quick 5-minute kill here, but 7,000 is what the gold reads, even on both sides.
So a lot of that has to do with just Twisted Fate. His passive no longer gives him the global gold, but it gives him more individual gold. So it's still going to inflate the overall gold totals minion kill wise. Hello!
Such patience by Daydream, and like I said, he came in with his first game on Elise for a quadra kill. When he is on the Playmaker Champions, he makes it happen.
But then Zion Spartan didn't get the taunt, and it was all for nothing. Yes, they burned the flash, and he was able to roam after the kill in the mid lane. He needs to continue to try to make plays like that. But if Coast wants to capitalize on Cloud9's early game, they can't make mistakes like that. If you land a hook, you've got to be able to capitalize with a taunt.
Wasted opportunities are only going to start to hurt you. Daydreamin has been making his way around the map. Yes, he's 3 CS behind Lemon Nation, but if you can't get Blitzcrank in some kind of a tanky form as you get into the game, pulling people can usually be a bad thing.
Daydreamin's going to have boots of mobility and a Sightstone. And that's what he's going to build on Blitzcrank. And at that point, he's just going to be building oracles because he needs to get the vision deny. And if Coast falls behind a little bit, they're going to lose all of that, which is why this moment and juncture in the game is ultimately one of the most important things for them.
Trying to win the ward game down in the bottom lane. Looks like for now they have the pink, so we may see Nintendo X returning to that lane in just a few minutes.
And depending on how Meteos and High position themselves, they will or will not be able to counter Zion Spartan's ultimate. That's going to be the next big thing here. Since Zion Spartan is 1v1 top lane with Balls, there is a potential for Coast to pull off some sneaky business and have Zion Spartan create some action bottom lane and then go for a dragon. But if Meteos and High plan properly, they can kind of stop wherever Shen goes in. There's going to be a nice little game of cat and mouse, as really, once the TF, Nocturne, and Shen ultimates get used, it's most likely going to key for a dragon maneuver.
And here's the return of the Nintendo. He is on the backside. The second engagement from Nintendo, the participation in the fight, and he picks himself up a kill this time.
And here's the dragon. So that was very pre-planned by Team Coast, and Meteos and High were not in position to counter that 3-man gank and collapse back in on them. Now it's just a matter of Cloud9 trying to get their lanes pushed up since Coast did 5-man that Dragon and really just get whatever else they can during all of these shenanigans.
You know, Jack, I remember you mentioning in one of the past few games that Lemon Nation is one of the supports that doesn't bring pink wards into that first portion of the game, and they were actually playing a little bit more dangerous in the bottom lane there without any wards altogether.
And this is something that Cloud9 actually does frequently in that lane. A lot of games for Cloud9, we see Lemon Nation or Sneaky actually dying a little bit if the team is willing to repeatedly gank them. But that all comes as an expected trade-off. The reason Lemon Nation and Sneaky play so far up in their lane, sometimes in unsafe ways, is because if the other team goes for a kill, Cloud9 will go for an objective. And just as we saw there, Coast took a kill and a Dragon, but Cloud9 got the turret. So in a sense, they were just trading objectives despite getting killed and losing the Dragon.
And that's proven by the gold, Jet. 12-1 to 12.
Yeah,
that gold still even on this matchup. Sneaky trying to pressure the lane. Still no wards coming out for Cloud9 right now. As they press up this hard, they know they're surrounded by pinks, but they can't even get a good ward in to get around that.
Yeah, but they went up and got the turret. So unless Coast was willing to stay down there again, gank again with Jarvan, and allow Meteos to continue farming, that wasn't going to happen. Essentially, if Coast wanted to defend that bottom turret, they would lose all of their presence in the mid lane, which they're trying to create right now as they're trying to finish off High's turret.
All right, so we know these 2 kills, really big here for Coast, but they only continue to count if you hold that pressure and continue to apply it. Cloud9 still looking for the objective of Dragon, which has already been taken nicely by Coast as they were able to grab it, but that will be their next fight. We usually don't see them trying to engage if they are behind until something like that, or a turret dive, or something as such.
Cloud9 kind of waits very patiently for their window and then just goes all out. I'm a little surprised Meteos has done so much farming without ganking. You can see his levels and experience are very high right now, and he's also wearing the double buff, so he's ready to go. But he's still just powering up. 69 million kills, now almost 70, keeping pace with the carries on his team on Nocturne. Meteos is going to want to make his presence felt fairly quickly here, because Nocturne, even though he is capable of getting a huge amount of farm, doesn't have the greatest late game scaling with that farm. So he's got to make something happen in the mid game.
Looks like Coast wants to back. No aggression for now, as you see. Mashme using that ace in the hole. That's just to pressure off High so they don't try to go and do anything crazy in the jungle. They will return to lane as we check out a few other things. Meteos is a full level, like you said, he's been farming over Nintendude X right now. He's hitting 9, Nintendude just hit 8. These guys should be engaging soon.
Meteos is actually the highest level in the game. Yeah. He's in
like
what we would call power farm mode right now. He's using his Duskbringer and he was using his blue buff to just move around the jungle faster and farm as much as possible. He's going to go convert 1,400 gold in his base right now into that aggressive Lizard Elder item, not the tank Golem Spirit that we've seen so many other junglers like Big Fat LP go for. So he's going to want to fight soon, maybe in this mid lane. TF and Nocturne might approach as Coast tries to take down this turret in a 3v3.
Now, everything is always definitive when you have this outer ring of turrets to take down. Coast getting a little bit of pressure on that. A gold card. Oh no, they get onto High. It should be some good damage, but probably not everything they need. Nintendude also should be able to walk out here. That turret, though, 1 shot away.
Oh, and Sneaky gives a little love tap to Shiphtur's Renekton in a 1v1. That mid lane fight may have happened if I did not get hooked in, but that's just not a way Cloud9 wanted to start the fight. They're still looking to make something happen because they know that they're kind of winning the other 2 side lane 1v1s, so they want to at least stall out in the mid lane. Losing the turret is actually not a great outcome for Cloud9.
And still evens up the gold once again. It's just creeping in favor of Cloud9, and then they just got some investment plan going on.
Yeah, definitely appears like Cloud9 is slow playing this one a little bit, which is somewhat unlike them, but I do feel like they're just waiting to pounce. Probably at the next Dragon is where they're going to want to make their move. Kennen in mid-game Dragon fights, once he's got that Magic Pen and the bit of items, can be brutal, since the tanks of Coast haven't actually fully tanked up yet, so they don't have that mid-game edge that they would normally have.
You can see the kind of pressure that Twisted Fate creating here. There are no turrets for Caitlyn really to be farming in, so the long range taking the shortest of the lanes to be the last one farming in, leaving the melees to take the outside push. Seems to be working for him so far, but like I said, once that mid turret's up, you know what you're doing. After it's down, it kind of gets a little slower.
And I wonder how Cloud9's going to deal with this. Specifically when Twisted Fate loses his mid lane, it heavily restricts where he's able to go. Ideally, Twisted Fate wants to kill the enemy mid turret, shove the lane as much as possible, and then kind of walk into each side of the mid lane river to threaten the side lanes. But Hai is actually just trapped in the bottom lane now because he's already been pushed out of mid and he's holding against another 3-man push. I'm really noticing here that Cloud9 is just trying to get balls as farmed up as possible. He's really going to be their fight forcer, despite them having TF and Nocturne, when we start seeing big fights. Oh, that might go off this.
Meteos just on the back side. I thought we were going to see the Nintendo Cataclysm, but I feel that they didn't have enough vision, maybe, they were thinking, and we're going to back off of this. With this kind of, we'll say, version of Twisted Fate that Hai is playing, it's not one that he can Destiny in and assassinate somebody out. What's the role he can take on now that he has this entire tanky team he's got a Destiny?
It's a lot trickier for him. I think he actually wants to play mostly in the back line, stunning and kiting backwards when we see the team fights.
There's Cloud9. Pretty much home away from home for them, right in front of an objective here. Daydreaming on the backside, grabs through, gets it through the upright.
Here's the fight.
The Dragon goes to Meteos. They go into the fight. Shiphtur's getting some big damage onto him, and Sneaky is on the outside. The spray and pray is just lacing Nintendo right now. Mash Me, and this is where the ultimate comes in, the end of the fight when they want to control and continue the engagement.
Oh, is he going for this? No, he's going mid. I was like, is he going to go in with no gold card and get him there? That was just strong planning by Cloud9. They knew they gave up the first dragon, and they essentially traded it for turrets, but then balls roamed down to the bottom, and as we said, he was going to be their instigator for when they really want to fight, and since Coast hadn't hit their big items yet that they want on the tanks, Cloud9 actually won that fight by a good margin, even though they only looked like they got out with 1 kill for none. No one on Cloud9 was really in big fear of dying, and they picked up the dragon as well.
Bit of a sway in the gold lead there, 22.5 now in favor of Cloud9. We see Zion Spartan in the top lane, and you know, particularly in most games, you hear a lot about Zion Spartan, but if you think about it, you don't see a lot of him until the end of the game. He's up there split pushing, he's really not participating. He is in a way, obviously. You're always moving off the ball, it still works. But pushing those top lanes and then coming into the fight. So we'll have to see if he can still do that, since him and Balls have been on an island this entire time. I'm
waiting for Meteos to get more involved. He's still heavily farming. He's still taking double buffs, and he's got a lot of power right now. He's able to duel most people on the map here. It's just a matter of him waiting for that moment. This could be a big fight though, bottom.
Wow, Shiphtur taking a lot of damage. There's the first slow. The slice and dice is not going to hit through anything. Ooh, he forced the flash, but he gets flashed after.
He's a couple more autos.
Trying to get a few more autos. Yes, he was trying to get those final stacks on, but it's not going to be there. A bit of a distraction allows a turret in the top lane. The possible for the kill. They get it down, and the true damage will not be enough.
Yeah, that was a bit of an overstaying of their welcome by Cloud9. Maybe the team itself got distracted by Sneaky's quest down bottom to kill Shiphtur and just got hooked in around the turret and died.
Trying to do what they can to keep these outer ring of turrets up. A valiant attempt as it goes down. They also lose Lemonation, so no pressure actually coming off of that, which Coast kind of got everything done in one fell swoop, so they can go back and buy. Cloud9 saves a bit of face for the second tier turrets, but still Sneaky on the split push. Usually we don't see the split or the Twitch split pushing as much.
No, we don't. This is a very strange game for Cloud9. First off, this is the first game we've seen no true mid laner out of Coast, so it automatically puts them in a different mindset for how they want to play. Since there's no... I've been trying to talk a lot more about like back lines and mid lines and front lines lately, and how Cloud9 is very good at maneuvering around the battle like that. This Coast team is basically all front line and then a Caitlyn, which changes the Cloud9 mindset greatly.
Oh, that'll change your mindset greatly as well. Nightmares in your head, the transfer of the buff. Good guy Meteos just takes it. Nintendo having a little bit of a tussle here, not liking plants whatsoever, however. Balls, Zion Spartan in the top lane, that Sunfire Cape gives him a bit of an edge. Balls doesn't like it.
That was Meteos starting to get involved.
Yeah.
Level 12. You saw the Twitch plus Meteos burst that came down, and that was with Hai not even participating. That's going to be their answer to stopping Coast split pusher farm very shortly.
And it looks like High, you know, telling us how he's going to play the game. The Zanya's on the first build, so he will be throwing himself into the fight sometimes if he feels necessary, trying to engage. And we see Tiamat's on both sides of the inventory.
Yes. So this is Meteos' full aggressive Nocturne. I really wish I remember the name of the player right now in solo queue, but there is a Nocturne player in very high elo who builds Lizard Elder and then Ravenous Hydra on Nocturne and just tries to fight people for the entire game, like Glass Cannon Nocturne. Meteos may have taken some inspiration from that, and he's just going for it. It's a pretty effective build for melees. I honestly feel like Ravenous Hydra is a better AD item for melees than Bloodthirster because you don't have to stack it and you get that nice active spell.
Ooh,
that was a close one.
Almost put it around that first melee minion, but it's not going to be the case. There are a lot of people that are about to party in the bottom lane, though.
Yeah, this could be a big party. It's going to be all about whether Shiphtur can make it down in time. Other than Cloud9 playing this one defensive, because they know that Zion Spartan can always join a party since his ultimate's up, and there's no way Cloud9's going to opt in to a 4v5.
After walking through a Vision Ward.
No, not going to do it. To get back to the team fight play, though, I do believe potentially High and Meteos might just want to dive straight onto Don't Mash Me since he doesn't have stuff there. He's just an AD carry by himself, kind of awkwardly on a team with a bunch of tanks. But the rest of the team, and maybe why Sneaky's getting more farm, is because he needs to sit in the back line all alone and try to take people out.
Ooh, they walked out on that one. We get a teleport in for a bit of safety. We got a few ults burned on that one. Sneaky's down, Destiny down, as well as Lemonation, and everything is up for Coast. So I'd say that was a pretty good play there.
It's going to be very convenient for Cloud9 in team fights if they can just layer the Zyra ultimate with the Kennen ultimate to keep Sneaky alive and spray and praying. The teamfight phase looks actually very good for Cloud9.
Oh, Daydream again hit up very, very early on that one. He definitely got hit with a grasping root to start it off. Lemonation waiting for the cooldowns, putting himself towards the front though. They're trying to get good peel down here for High, as well as Sneaky comes into the fight. Shiphtur tries to get the focus down onto him, but there is just too much focus. Lemonation staying alive with some photosynthesis.
Speaking of good team fighting for Cloud9, they wrecked them there, and the damage from Meteos coming out with, by the way, thanks very much to Twitter and our producers for telling us Ninja Ken is the Nocturne player who runs the Ravenous Hydra. Big time damage Nocturne right there.
Coming out huge. Nocturne just with the AoE damage. We'll see how much it hurts and how the top lane actually went down as Daydream died on the bottom.
Yeah, it didn't even look like much. Like, how did Balls actually... He got this turned around on him because he interrupted him while he was low, and Zion Spartan just killed him. So overall, it allowed Cloud9 to win the 4v4, but he sacrificed himself. He's a team player.
Oh, twice. No, he's not going to go for it twice. He knows Lemonation is just on the tail of High there. Double buffs as well approaching him, so it will be a tough escape. 21-20 into the game, 5-4. The gold lead slowly increasing. It went from 2 to 4K now of a deficit for Coast. And 3-2 in turrets means those outer ring of turrets has been pressured down, and Cloud9 is going to be looking to engage these fights and get a little bit more.
They may just be trying to create a bunch of containment in Coast jungle right here, I think is the right word for it, because Meteos' ultimate's almost up. High will be able to teleport in, and they've shown that they can kind of dominate in some team fights here. Since Meteos has the benefit of just killing a squishy, as long as he can actually dive through the front line of Coast. It's allowing him to build Glass Cannon Nocturne without getting punished, since there's not actually a bunch of people that will kill him as long as he's smart with the way he goes in. This is another fun carry jungler game for Meteos.
And if we kind of, we're 22 minutes in, but we can start to look at what happens, because these teams are obviously going to start playing for a turtle. If the second tier turret goes down, if they get the beef that they want onto Coast, will they just start to be able to walk over Cloud9?
Maybe, but probably not, only because of how well Cloud9 finished their pick phase. When Lemonation picked Zyra, on top of already having Kennen, plus just having Twitch to AoE down, it's so difficult for their 3 tanks to dive in, Shen, Jarvan, and Renekton, and not just get caught up in all of Zyra's roots and obliterated by Twitch's spray and pray.
Oh, obliterated just like this, possibly, but it's going to be a 2v1 as he calls for some help. Shiphtur gets himself away, a few ultimates used for a few ultimates.
Trying to be sneaky running into that push with Shiphtur, and it worked out because it burned everything for just the Nocturne out. Now they're able to create some turret pressure.
Again, you see Mashmi, his style of Caitlyn play is pretty much use that ultimate when it's up, get the pressure damage out, knowing that Elimination's going to be towards the front side of that fight. The more the damage on him, the less he can disengage quickly. Zion Spartan balls again on this island in the top lane. These guys are on vacation right now.
Yeah, and that vacation is going in the favor of Zion Spartan. That's probably the only positive thing the Coast has going for them this game, is how Zion Spartan is winning that split push battle with balls. It's now a matter of the rest of Coast not losing these 4v4 scenarios that actually, if we remember, happened right here when they got obliterated in the team fight. No Nocturne ult up this time, but if Elimination lands something, I wouldn't be surprised to see Cloud9 just go in head first.
Daydreaming, pulling the balk out. It definitely gets high to walk around the corner, so they see their 4 strong in the bottom lane. Zion Spartan expecting a rendezvous with Kennen in the top lane in just a few seconds, as the bottom lane now being taken out. Coast is going to focus on the turret, but Nintendo tries to focus on getting a kill here. Decides to go back in the end.
You got a little scared.
You did get scared.
They got the turret.
They had total
no problem,
position.
Nintendo. Nothing was there. Don't worry about it. There's no nightmares coming. You got another about 30 seconds on those.
It's weird seeing Cloud9 react to things so quickly. Usually they're the one at least pushing a turret when they're losing a turret. They're having to defend a lot of things right now. But who knows? That could change in the next few seconds. That's Cloud9's play.
They need Meteos to be able to go in, is what they need. They can't necessarily get a clean initiation without him. And I think that's why they had to concede that turret.
That's tough. I'm just thinking, I'm like, all right, Meteos, I am going to Nocturne ult in to a Renekton, a Jarvan, a Shen. Like,
yeah, he's going to go to the Caitlyn, and he's then going to force everyone else to go back. And if they clump like that, it would allow Sneaky and Elimination to land all of their AoEs on top of them. It's all about forcing Coast into a ball so that the AoE can happen.
Best way to do that may be to throw on the Destiny. They're going to try to rock it down. Mashmi over the wall. He positions himself great for no accidents there. Nintendo throws himself back into the fight. A valiant attempt by the jungler.
It's a 5v4 now.
It looks like they are going to continue the fight. Zion Spartan not making it to the fight, did he? Daydreaming and Shiphtur there. Mashmi, there's Spartan. He did make it past, but that means Balls is pushing the top lane by himself.
And Coast is running so good for Cloud9. They're going to continue the chase.
They get the grab. That's the minion.
Oh, man.
Oh, it's a little bit of gold, but not what they wanted in the disengage. Balls has the turret to half health in that top lane. A kill onto Zyra. A quick run in from Mashmi on the side. Nobody sees him, and he gets out stealthily. It's going to be Daydreaming to overdrive his way out of this fight.
And Cloud9 wants to continue this as long as possible because Balls is just happily split pushing the other lane. I have to give a shout out to Meteos in that fight because he just ran through the lane after he overdove and is now healed up so much thanks to his lifesteal. That was a brilliant fight by Cloud9.
He has finished that Ravenous Hydra. Looks like he's just going for more damage after that as the Lich Bane coming out for, of course. Yeah. As High has finished that, that means their turret taking, or turret aggression is going to be turned up a little bit more. And we saw Destiny, they really kind of just walked that one in. Like, a lot of the ultimates are just being used to put fear in Coast right now.
So we could really see in broad daylight. Oh, look out, Balls. Is Daydreaming going to land a hook? He's going to try.
He could have it. Boom.
Left or right?
Oh!
Shot it right. He went left.
Sun was in his eyes.
Yeah. Anyway, we were talking about the initiation patterns by Cloud9. Very clearly, High has the Zhonya's to go in and land a stun onto Don't Mash Me's Caitlyn, and Meteos will then go in directly after. And unless Don't Mash Me uses Cleanse Flash, he will be chained up for the TF stun and then the Nocturne Fear and die immediately every fight. Unless Coast completely pulls back and balls up, which is again exactly what Cloud9 wants. It really sucks to be Don't Mash Me right now because Cloud9 has a perfect combo to take him out.
He was forced to run Cleanse this game, so really everything, it would be Barrier if he was not, but that defensive, going into Nintendo. This is the second time they've really gone on him after not getting a first target. We saw Mashmi flash in the last fight, but they said, we could take Nintendo down, let's just do it.
Yeah, Mashmi wasn't there, so they just took anyone.
But they had.
You can build as many take on him as you want, but with all the damage that Cloud9 is building and all the catch potential, they're still going to die, which is, Coach really needed to get a lead with this game or maybe turn it around here. This is their real only opportunity, and this is a very dangerous Baron by Cloud9. They're looking for a fight.
Stand United coming in from the bottom lane. Shiphtur gets a little bit of help there. Can he continue to call the meek and slice and dice around? He goes down, turned into a briefcase, and Mashmi try. Oh, I was like, well, I get a little close there. You have long range. You don't have to attack. A headshot into the next one. A double kill coming up for Mashmi. He makes it look good. The team is going to chase a very low combined health for both teams coming into this next fight they engage.
Yeah, that was so beneficial for Coast right there, and the reason Don't Mash Me could pick up a double kill is because the Cloud9 kill Don't Mash Me combo we talked about was used on Nintendo, because they saw the freedom there, but then since they forced the Baron fight right here, you can see they have no way of getting onto Don't Mash Me in this fight, and it's actually Cloud9 who ends up grouping up, and it allows Don't Mash Me to safely fire in his shots and just take Cloud9 out one by one. There's also a nice taunt flash by Zion Spartan here to catch on to balls. If you flash right at the end of your taunt animation, you can extend it and get the taunt, and that's something Zion Spartan executed there to pick up the kill on balls.
Actually, quite hard to do.
Not for beginners.
Not something you should try the first time in a ranked game. 9-7, 30 minutes into this one, a 7,000 gold lead. The Coast needs to close quickly. Cloud9 does not let up once they start climbing those stairs, and right now they are sprinting to the top of this game. Looking for another win. A loss for Coast here.
That puts them out of the playoffs.
Puts them out of the playoffs and solidifies quite a few things in the standings.
It is a huge moment right now for Coast. Whereas Cloud9, they obviously want to win, but just the differences in how much these teams really need to want this is so far off.
Definitely see the lack of an area of effect damage ability on Coast, having a bit of a hurt here. You have Kennen to come in, and we even saw that when Maple Street played Kennen yesterday on AD, for the first portion of, the first level 6 ultimate, it is still effective until it goes to late game and just becomes a stun. Having that, everything that they need without any area of effect on Coast is definitely hurting the game right now.
Yeah, about 338 ability power here on balls. Only going to get more. I think he's actually going to be going for a death cap with that next needlessly large rod item. Despite being 0-2-3, he has an amazing presence in team fights. And honestly, I just want to watch Meteos in these team fights and see how quickly he can kill people. Here we go. Look out, Don't Mash Me.
Oh, right to the back line. He's forced to flash. The car hit him anyway. From the backside in downtown, they finally get the kill they were looking for. A double kill coming in for High there. They're looking for more.
And there's a split push option coming in from Zion Spartan right here, but they're going to lose this race by a long shot. There is not much here to defend the base when you look at Shiphtur and Nintendo X. Not to mention, they've only sent balls back, and I don't think this is actually going to repel Cloud9's push. Cloud9's still going to be able to get some of these inhibitor turrets.
This is going to be pretty big. Now that Balls has gotten big with that Zanya, is almost a Rabadon's finished. He has the Haunting Guys. Like you said, he's going to be able to stop that lane, and we can see pressure or damage rather. Consistent damage onto that turret. High destroys the turret in the top lane, which means an inhibitor is open.
I feel so bad for Caitlyn right now. Yeah. He eat away.
He's farming.
Cleanse, flashed, almost right as a CC hit, but so much damage was packed in when Meteos and Hyde teleported on top of him. They didn't even ignite him.
No.
And now he doesn't have his cleanse or flash, but the Nocturne and TF ultimates are almost up again. Unless Coast gets this Baron like right now, I don't see how they're winning team fights.
It's hard for Mashmi when you're against multiple front-end bursts of damage that can be followed up by more bursts of damage.
And it's also because, like, if Coast had an Orianna or something, or a typical mid lane caster, even an Ahri, they could shut down some of that. Because if you're diving straight on, like, just watch how fast he dies here. The damage hit him all immediate, and I think the card gets him.
Yeah, he's not.
No! Okay.
What's up?
Right at the last second.
Sharp cards.
Yeah. He is a card master. Yeah.
Double Lift would be proud. 32 and a half minutes. We're over actually the Cloud9 average went up a little bit, so we're probably still approaching that. 53,000 gold to 44,000 here. 7-4 in turrets. Cloud9 faltered a little bit in the beginning, allowing Coast to get a few kills, but they have found their bearings now and are cleanly pushing down every single lane. Now looking at only inhibitor turrets. Coast coming in with a huge AD composition to start this match off. The AP coming from Daydreaming on Blitzcrank, and it so far hasn't worked out as well as they hoped.
Yeah, as soon as, I mean, if Don't Match Me thinks about coming up, you can see where he's standing right now. Like, he wants to be able to run back into his Nexus turrets. Even that small amount of poke that just landed on him from a TF card could just mean death for him. This is hyper dangerous.
Ooh.
Coast really wants to land a hook, so Cloud9 doesn't have control over this initiation.
High just flashed. They're trying to go in. Nintendo X is separated from the Strangle Thorns. Balls throws down. The Zanya's double kill coming in. A the third rather, and the fourth kill coming in. And we're going to see the ace finalized in the matchup. They are going to go for the Nexus.
Well, that does it. There's your glass cannon how-to by Meteos and High. That's how you want to Nocturne now. I want to go and play that right now. Congratulations here to Cloud9. Another win. And this does mean Coast is eliminated from the playoffs.
Well, Jat, you have a chance after we cast a few more games today because it is the final day of Super Week and we have a lot more action to go. Just like this, Cloud9 coming back. Like we said at the beginning of today, they are in first place for every day of the summer split so far and will stay there.
That was
it's
another
crazy
good Cloud9 game. Yeah, they have such an amazing record now. That puts them at 24-3.
They could. You know, you say that's like our first question when people come up here in the beginning is like they win their first game. So what is it going to be? It was like 27 or 28.
28 no.
27-1 if you lost one.
They got a chance at 25-3, which is a good pace. The best record in the last split was Fnatic at 22-6.
Now they're 2 over that.
So they're already distancing themselves quite a bit. And it's putting some lofty expectations on Cloud9 as they move into playoffs and approach Worlds.
They're such a jovial and happy team. You know, the other day I was talking to Jack, and I was like, this was actually quite early in the split, and I was like, you know, how is everything? Like, how do you get these guys so motivated? And he said, he's like, you just mentioned food. Like, literally. Because remember, they had the boiling crab. They went for barbecue last night that they were tweeting all over the social media.
Yeah.
So these guys are definitely, they work for peanuts.
When I went down to their house to do the interview with High, the whole thing Meteos kept talking about was how he wanted Alex Penn to get him Chipotle for like hours. He just loves going there.
They love food.
They love food.
They love food, and they absolutely
and
love winning. Yeah, they have to love League of Legends. Everyone does. All right, guys, we got to take a short break, but when we return,